students. In this lecture, we will be exploring everything and all things about listening. So let's get started. So before we get started, I would like to go over what I would like you to know and understand by the conclusion of this lesson. I would like you to know the difference between listening and hearing. I would like you to be able to identify and know the different types of listening styles. I would like you to be able to identify the types of noise and know the other listening barriers associated with listening. I would like to be able to identify and know the different stages of listening. And I would like you to have an overall understanding of the concept of critical thinking. So first of all, what is listening and what is hearing? Well, hearing is the automatic response to sound that requires no effort. Basically, hearing is a passive way of listening. You could hear what your professor says to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're listening. Hearing requires no effort. You can just simply hear what the person is saying, but you put no effort into really fully listen to that person. Now, on the other hand, listening is active for the purpose of understanding the meaning expressed by a speaker. So it means demonstrating good eye contact. It means leaning forward. It means really kind of taking your mind off everything else that's around you and really focusing on what the speaker is saying rather than being distracted by, somebody's cell phone ringing. So listening is this process of being mindful and really listening to what the speaker is saying, and that alone requires a lot of effort. However, hearing does not. So what are some of the benefits of listening? Well, the first is that you'll become a better student. If you listen, you'll be able to hear what your professor said. You'll be able to gain more information, which will help you to achieve those high grades and help you to achieve some important skills such as critical thinking and problem solving. So it'll help you develop some of those and unique communication skills. So it definitely will help you become better and help you succeed more in the classroom if you can listen to your instructor and to the peers around you. It will help you to be perceived as intelligent and perceptive. When you're listening, that shows that you really care and really want to get to know the person talking to you, and that alone is something that intelligent people do, is really listen and try to get some information from the other person that they're speaking to. And the benefits of listening, another benefit of listening is that it can help you become a better speaker. When you listen to another speaker, that can help you get ideas and help you see, okay, well, this is what I need to do to become a better public speaker. So you can kind of, by listening, you can see what others are doing well and kind of gauge from that. So now let's look at the different types of listening styles. The first is people-oriented listener. The people-oriented listener is interested in the speaker and listens to the message in order to understand how the speaker thinks and feels. So it's basically, they might, use like leaning forward or good eye contact to really be able to understand what the speaker is thinking and feeling. They really try to kind of dig deep and to really see what they're really thinking or feeling. Action listener is interested in finding out what the speaker wants. Task mode. So really it's seeing what's the speaker's motive, what do they want, Content-oriented listener are interested in the content itself, so they're just basically focusing on the information that's presented in the speech. They're just focusing on the arguments. They're not really focusing on the audience member themselves or the speaker themselves. They're focusing more on what the speaker is talking about. Time-oriented listener prefer a message that gets to the point quickly. So they don't want any beating around the bush. They just want to get right to the point. Snap. Easy. So they don't have to listen anymore. So really time-oriented listener is somebody who just wants you to get to the point. No rambling, no beating around the bush needed. So now that we looked at the different types of listening styles, let's now turn our attention to the different types of noise. So noise is anything that interferes with your ability to understand a message. It could be, somebody who whispers in your ear. It could be, the wind outside. It could be somebody's cell phone rings across. It could be a door slamming, whatever it may be. Physical noise is bursts or sounds that interfere with a person's ability to hear. So that could be, like I said, the wind blowing, a desk slamming, a blender being blended. It could mean a cell phone ringing. It could mean two people talking. Those are examples of physical noise. Now, on the other hand, psychological noise is being distracted from a speaker's message because of a listener's body. So that can mean you have a headache that day. You could have, nerves in the stomach because you're going to be the one getting up in front of a crowd next. Or it could mean like you're thirsty and you're hungry and you just don't feel like listening, so you kind of tune out because you're so hungry or thirsty. And somatic noise is listener experiences confusion over a speaker's word choice. So you might be confused over the word choice, might not have difficulty understanding what they're trying to say and what kind of language and word choice they're using. And that's why it's so important that when you do use a complex term or word that you actually explain it so it doesn't cause any confusion, it doesn't cause any frustration. So what are some other listening barriers? Attention span. We've been talking a lot about like how in class that I took on online teaching communication studies online about how we all have short attention spans. We can only listen to so much information at certain times. So when it goes on, like a speech goes on for a long time, that just causes you to kind of zone out and really stop paying attention. That's why sometimes shorter speeches are better than longer ones. So then that way it keeps your audience attention going. Listeners' bias can also be another barrier. Maybe some people have a certain bias for a certain topic, or they have a certain bias for a certain speaker, so they focus on that rather than the other things. So bias can also be an issue. And then listening apprehension is the fear that you might not be able to understand the message. So maybe there's a foreign exchange student who just came into your class and you're worried that you might not be able to understand their message. That could be an example of communication apprehension. Or maybe you have somebody in there that speaks a different language and you don't know how to speak it yourself, so you're worried about what that speaker's message may be. Okay, now let's look at some of the stages of listening. The first is receiving. Intentional focus of hearing my message. So it's just like that, what we talked about with hearing. It's just they're receiving the message. Doesn't mean that they're actually listening. It just means that they're receiving it in their ear. It means that they're hearing it. Understanding is we attempt to understand the meaning of the message. So as a listener is talking, we attempt to understand what are they talking about, what are they referring to, what do they mean when they say this. You try to think of something that the speaker is saying, what is their intent. And remembering, listener places speaker's message in the long-term memory. So maybe, when you're listening less, you might jot down notes, or you might, use a little video recorder, you might jot down your laptop. Those can be examples of remembering. And then evaluating is judging the value of the message. So maybe you judge the way, a speaker presented their speech, or you judge the way they use their body language. It's just basically evaluating their character as a speaker. Okay, now responding and feedback. Summative is feedback given at the conclusion of a speech. So it's kind of like, what I do is when I'm done listening to your speech, I might provide some feedback at the conclusion of the speech. Formative is given when speakers in the past speech making. So that could be like maybe you nod your head in agreement, or you look at them and give eye contact. That is an example of formative feedback, just kind of giving the feedback to show that the speaker that you are actually listening to them. Is what formative feedback is. Okay, now let's look at the critical listening. Critical listening is a process a listener goes through using systematic thinking and reasoning to see whether a speaker's message makes sense in the light of factual evidence. So they're seeing if it makes sense as factual evidence. This is what critical listening is. They're trying to make sense of the speaker's message. And ways you can improve critical thinking: recognize difference between facts and opinions. So see the difference between what's accurate and what's not accurate, or it's just an opinion. Knowing those difference. Uncover assumptions. be open to new ideas. Just be open-minded. Be willing to think outside the box and get out of your comfort zone. Just be willing to accept others' ideas that are different than your own. Take notes and listen actively. Maybe as the speaker's talking, kind of take notes and then kind of look up and nod and really lean forward and really make sure that you're not only just taking notes, because that can be a form of passive, especially if you're just taking notes, not listening. But you also, in addition to taking notes, you also have to be listening and being mindful and giving them feedback that you are listening. And then use reasoning and common sense is the better one. That is our conclusion of our lecture, and I look forward to talking with you all soon. Have a wonderful day.